Howdy folks, this is Chris with Big Guys Hike 2, and we're about to take off on a weekend hike on the Palmetto Trail on the ENOREE section. I don't know how to spell it. It's ENOREE section, and we're taking Red with us. So we're gonna hike and then come out at I think it's Black something stone campsite. Howdy folks, this is Chris with Big Guys Hike 2, and today we're going to go over my weekend overnight hike of the ENOREE passage of the Palmetto Trail, and I'm going to do a review of the Outdoor Vitals Dominion 2-person tent. So let's get started. Well, to begin, we started our hike. We're going to do 5 miles. A friend of mine and we're going to do 5 miles and then camp at a campsite, primitive campsite, and then we were going to hike another 5 miles in the morning. So we staged the truck at the campsite, had my wife drop us off 5 miles at the head of the trail, and then we're going to walk back to the campsite, set up camp, and then in the morning get up, do breakfast, and then head out and do 2.5 miles down the trail and 2.5 back, get in the truck and go ahead and come home. So as I always say, plan your hike and hike your plan. Well, part of the plan is adapt to anything that comes up. So about 1.5 miles into the trip, my friend's shoe had a major blowout, and he had a catastrophic failure. And you'll see from this picture that the shoe completely came off, and we go ahead and tried to fix it, and we used 550 cord, which did keep the heel on for a while, but he didn't have any stability on the up and down. So I ended up calling my wife to come get us on the trail, and she'd already had gotten home. She turned around and came back. By the time she got there, we ended up walking 4 of the miles. We might as well have walked the rest of it, but like I said, his shoe felt bad for him. His shoe was really screwing it up. So we got back to this campsite. It was already dark. I had planned on doing the review at the campsite with the tent and show how I set it up and everything, but it was already dark, and things hadn't gone as we planned, so we ended up eating late and just went to bed. So I'll be setting the tent up here in my yard and doing my review from the yard. It was the first trip we took the dog. It was his first time ever sleeping overnight in a tent. I will say one of the mistakes I made was I didn't bring enough water on the trail for him and I. He usually doesn't drink that much, and I guess hiking, he definitely drank a ton of water. It also was in the mid 90s and 100% humidity, so we were all drinking a lot more water than you probably normally would. So in the next trip, I got to make sure I plant enough water for the dog. I also forgot a dog bowl. So for any of you that have to figure that out, the hood of your rain gear, if inverted, makes a great dog bowl. So I used that for the dog to drink out of, and he did fine. So when we got to the campsite, I used a 550 cord and a couple clamps, and rigged a runner line, and then hung his leash from that with a hook so he could run up and down, and he got to do that while we were setting up. So highly suggest you have some kind of system for the dog to be tied up so you can work around the campsite. Most campsites require dogs to be on leash, and it's not that I don't trust my dog, it's just I don't trust other people's dogs sometimes, and also wildlife. My dog he's chicken, he wouldn't fight another animal, but he sure likes to bark at him, so he may instigate larger game, or even a bear or something like that. He'd probably bark at it and it'd probably chase him. So we just want to keep him under control for that. Kind of comes with the breed of a border collie. So without that, I'm going to go ahead and show you the tent and set it up, and then we'll talk about the specs on it. Vital's Dominion 2-person tent. Comes in its own sack. It has the tent sack, the footprint, the rain fly, stakes, and the main body of the tent. So, first thing you do is put out your rain fly. Put out the tent, and on the tent it has the shorter side, which has gray straps, and then it has the wider side, which is the head, that has black stripes. So you want to try to put it so that the foot downhill. The area I'm at now has a slight decline this direction, so I'm going to set it up this way. And get your poles out. Nice thing about these poles are they're all one piece, so just put them together. Now, one of the things I wish they would have done is maybe color coded the tips of the pole, which they did not. So I guess they just assumed that that the larger end, the longer poles are at the head, and the shorter ones at the shoulder. Lay that down like that. Put the grommets through. One thing I do is I do not put I don't put the foot or the footprint attached, because the grommets at the bottom, the fly has to go through the grommets also, and they tend to come off if you put the footprint on, then put the thing on. So I put those on second. This has some of these clamps go on. gray. So this part here is gray. That goes on that part. Once again, I wish they would have marked the tabs a little bit better on that to make it a little easier to figure that out. You got to kind of look at it a little bit to figure it out. And then one thing that I thought that they did that wasn't the greatest was they have these Velcro strips instead of having clips for the inside. I wish they would have made that more of a clip because that's kind of cheap. And they're not sewn in super good, so we'll see how long the longevity of that lasts for that. But not a big fan of that. You'd think for the price they'd be able to put a little bit nicer. You have to make sure you put these on before you all the little clamps because they're going. So, once you get everything attached, you want to stake her out. With the stakes, they also give you a little section for the in case you break a pole. And what they give you is 2 larger stakes, which are for your vestibule, and they give you 6 stakes, smaller stakes that are for the corners, and then 2 tie-outs at the end for air ventilation. So we're going to go ahead and put these in. Okay, now that I have this tent set up, let me go ahead and go over some of the features. This is the Outdoor Vitals Dominion 2-person tent. Normally it's around $330. They have a sale currently for $296 on this tent. The inner mesh, which is the wire on the tent, is 15 denier. The rainfly is 15 denier ripstop nylon siliconized, and the bathtub floor is 30D ripstop nylon siliconized bottom. It has Y2K zippers, and it has DAC poles. And as you saw when I put it up, the DAC poles are all connected, so they're all together as one unit, so you can't lose them. The inside height of this is 38 inches. At the peak, it's 85 inches, not feet, 85 inches long. At the head of the bed, up at the top, it is 52 inches wide. And at the foot of the bed, it is 42. So if you have two 25s, they're just not gonna fit. I have a 25-foot pad, and there's plenty of room for me and then the dog to lay beside me, and at the foot to have my backpack and gear inside. It does have two vestibules that are large enough to put your equipment on the outside if you don't want to put it inside the tent. This packs down to a size of 6 inches by 6 inches and 22 inches long. They claim that the packing weight for the whole thing, total weight, is 4 pounds. I weighed mine, and mine is 4 pounds 8 ounces. In light mode, which is just the rainfly, the footprint, and the poles, they claim that it's 1 pound 7.5 ounces. I found mine to be 2 pounds 7 ounces. The tent body, they claim is 1 pound 7 ounces, and mine was actually 1 pound 4 ounces. So that goes for it. So, as you can see. Alrighty guys, I'm sitting inside the tent. As you can see, there's headroom at the top. I'm only 5'8", but I have a very large torso. So I'm probably anybody that's 6 foot, 6'1", probably has about the same headroom as I do. You can see right there behind me, that line in the tent, that's one vent. And on the opposite side, in the other vestibule, there's a vent there that has a black toggle thing that you can put out to suspend it. At the end of the tents, it has ventilation at both ends, so that air comes up underneath. And the zippers on the, I'll show you when I'm laying down how much room I have down there at the foot of the bed. My head being at the top, being able to sit up without hitting anything. And sorry. If you also look, it has about a 3-inch bathtub floor here, right there, like that. That keeps it out. The stents that come down the vent. So, what I think about the tent. It didn't rain while we were out, but it was hot, so I left both vestibules open and got pretty good airflow. And I have had it out in the rain before, and it was waterproof. I didn't get any rain in it whatsoever. I left it out in 3 days of rainstorms out in the yard, and it didn't leak at all. So that went through that test. I've had it out in moderate rains or moderate winds, and it seems to withstand the wind pretty good. I've never used the full tie outs. It has a couple tie outs to tie out the corners to keep it a little more battened down. I haven't had to use those. I would say I would upgrade, if I'm going on a long trip, I'd upgrade the stakes. They're just aluminum stakes. I'd probably go with the groundhogs. And other than that, I think the tent does pretty good. The height of it is a little short, but I really didn't have any problem. The worst part's when you're climbing in and out of it a little bit. The vestibules are large enough. I left my backpack out inside that, and I put a little seated pad down and put that down there and used that for a foot mat, and then I had my boots on the outside. I laid down a gossamer pad for my dog, and I use a Nemo Tensor wide mattress, and put that in there, and he and I had more than plenty of a room. And I put a lot of my gear at the end of the at one end, and the dog was at the other end. So that worked out great. Another criticism I'd say is I wish the poles had, instead of using gray and black, which are barely any color, especially at night, you can't see it, is if they would have made the straps red instead of gray at one end and black at the other end. And also if they would have made the tips of the poles red, and if they would have done the same thing with red and black for the ends, matching correspondently, so that you could tell which end of the rain fly. Because you got to remember that the red is to the black side and the gray is to the gray side. I guess gray to gray, but like I said, at night you can barely tell the gray from the black. So if you're setting up later at night, it's going to be hard to do. So I would suggest they do a little bit better with the color coordinating. The other major thing that I really don't like is the Velcro fasteners for the rain fly to the poles. They should have went ahead and just put some clips in there and done that instead. For the amount of material they use on the Velcro, I don't see how much more weight a small clip would have done, and it would have made it a lot easier to put it on there. So that's one of my criticisms. But other than that, I really like the tent. I can't wait to use it more often. Did come in a little heavier than I thought it would. I have another tent that is a little bit sturdier that comes in almost the same weight. So if I had to choose the two, I'd choose the other one. But this is a good starter tent for anybody that wants to get out and is kind of hesitant of the trekking pole tents. And like I said, it's a little heavy at 4 pounds, but you know, it's not super heavy. I don't use trekking poles much, so that's why I'm trying to transition into trekking poles. Supposedly going up and down mountains is supposed to be better for you, but so I just wanted to say that concludes my review of the tent. I would say if you're looking for a starter tent, this is a great tent to start with. I don't use trekking poles. I'm trying to start to learn how to use them, so eventually maybe get a lighter tent that use trekking poles, but for right now I'm using tents that are in the 3 to 4 pound range, and this tent works great, so I would recommend it. I'm not sponsored or anything like that, and even if I was sponsored, being retired military, I believe in honor and integrity, so I would never compromise my opinion for money. So if you have any questions, comments, suggestions, anything like that, I'm very open to all that stuff. Leave it in the comments below, and if you like what you're saying, please subscribe. I do this one so that it motivates me to get out and hike and then come back and have to do a video. So on those days I don't really feel like going out, I'm like, oh, got to do a video. So kind of gives me that thing. And then the other thing is I've always had people inspire me to do things. I go on YouTube and get inspired by some of the content that I see on YouTube. So if I can help other people, that'd be great.